welcome into OutKick the show. I'm your fearless leader, Clay Travis, coming to you early on this Friday as we run into a week where most of you are not going to work next week. I can already see deep into your souls, and I'm going to be one of those people. I'm doing the radio show Monday and Tuesday from down at the beach, and then I am not working Wednesday, Thursday, Friday to celebrate the 4th of July. I will be back here with all of you ripped, roaring, probably incredibly and impeccably tanned on the Monday after July 4th. But we got a ton of things to discuss. Right off the top, we're coming to you early because I'll be on Fox News and Fox Business this afternoon. So I didn't want to run into OutKick the show. But we are going to have a record-setting June. Thank you to everyone out there who has been consuming OutKick content in record numbers. I think arguably June of 2025 may be the most influential OutKick month in history if you consider a bunch of the different shows and stories that we have been on top of. By the way, congratulations to Joe Biden for the one-year anniversary of the end of his political career, which happened on this day, June 27th, 2024, the official end of Joe Biden is just as good as he's ever been. That's my Scarborough impression. When Joe Scarborough told us this was the best version of Biden, all of you saw Biden malfunction live on television, which paved the way for 4 more years of Trump and officially ended the era of Joe Biden, as it were. Okay. And we got a lot of data. Pew Research study comes out confirming what I've been telling you for some time, which is that Black, Hispanic, and Asian voters surged towards Donald Trump in 2024 to create the most diverse Republican coalition of victory in the history of the United States. We've got Iran getting whipped, and Trump and the military doing a phenomenal job of doing it. What I think Oklahoma City should do in the wake of their first ever title. Congrats to the Thunder. Mamdani wins the mayor's race in New York City. What's the impact? Cooper Flagg, number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft. First white American number 1 pick since 1977. I will discuss an incredible year for the Coopers and the Whites. Northern Michigan, incredible trip up there. Maybe the most underrated area in the country. And we got Harry Potter books, if I didn't say it, being banned in San Francisco. But I want to begin with something that I was 100% right about. I'll tell you something that I was 100% wrong about. That's the Mamdani election. But I told you, keep your wits about you. Do not panic. It was only a couple of months ago that everybody out there in legacy media was putting the stock market on the corner of the screen, and you couldn't escape it, and everybody was out there screaming about the collapse of the stock market. Today, as I am speaking to all of you, the stock market is at an all-time record high. That's the S&P 500. I am not claiming to be a financial savant, but I am telling you to do what I do, by and large, with the stocks that I hold, and that is buy S&P 500 index funds. Don't really look at them on a day-to-day basis. Every 10 years, historically, your money is going to double. That's all you have to do. Put them in the side, 401k, your retirement accounts, your kids' college funds, your own investment accounts, whatever you have. I think you should buy S&P 500 index fund is what I have done, and they are at an all-time record high right now. If you bought at the absolute worst time imaginable, that is when the record highs were set in February, and all you did was not pay attention to stock prices since February, you would have more money now than you did in February. That's even if you bought at the absolute peak of, at that point, the all-time high in the history of the S&P 500. If you dollar cost averaged, which is basically continued to buy throughout, and you listened to me and you bought just a couple of months ago, you have made an incredible 20% plus on your S&P 500 index funds just since April, if you had some dry powder and you went in and you bought more stocks when everybody was losing their mind in April, you have made over 20%. Why do I start with this? You cannot allow yourself to be overrun by day-to-day panic. On a day-to-day basis, there is always a frenzy out there. Everybody is running around and they are panicked. And if you allow the panic to influence you financially, you will sell at lows and you will buy at highs because you're just going to respond to the emotion of the moment. A lot of you listening to me probably right now didn't buy at the lows and you're kicking yourself. As you have watched stock market prices continue to go up, some of you will come pouring into the market now. Some of you improbably will have sold low. That is, you sold in April, and now you're angry that you've missed the massive run-up and you're going to buy back in June. It's really hard to time the stock market. Every study that's ever been done, people who try to jump in and out of the stock market often miss the big rises, and they don't end up doing very well. On average, you're going to make about 9% a year. This is my TED Talk for all of you. I try to sit down my boys and walk them through it. Just do the math. Every 10 years, if you just put your money in the stock market, the S&P 500 index funds, which beat most actively managed professional hedge fund and investment gurus, about 90% of them cannot beat the S&P 500. The market is hard to beat. If you just buy the market and you accept every 10 years your money is going to double, you can do the math on what that compounding value looks like. It is impressive. And here we are, another high. And I'm not claiming that this is some sort of brilliant distillation, but it is an important one. And I think a lot of people just miss it. So congratulations to those of you who did not lose your minds. You're up over 20% just in the past couple of months. If you just ignored stock market prices, did not pay attention to all the fluctuation, all the craziness, all you had to do was just stay put, not panic, and you would be back at an all-time high. So I wanted to make sure that I talked about that off the top here as we're rolling in to the end of many fiscal years. And as we get ready for July, there you go with that. All right, Oklahoma City won Game 7. However, and I'm going to pull it up because I want to make sure I get it exactly right. However, it was the least watched NBA Finals in modern history, and I want to make sure that I am getting it correct. So I'm pulling this up right now, and we have got game-by-game breakdown. There was an average, even with 7 games, an average of 10.2 million viewers. So even though they got the entirety of the series, they got all of this sort of massive opportunity over a 7-game series, the overall viewership, 10.2 million viewers, was the lowest outside. They barely got over the 2021 finals, the lowest basically since the COVID era. And it was an unmitigated disaster. Only one other time in the 2007 year, only 9.29 million viewers watched, but that was a 4-game sweep. This was, frankly, an unmitigated disaster for the NBA. They now have, given you an example, 29 million viewers watched the Jazz and the Bulls in 1998. Only 10 million viewers on average watched the 2025 7-game series. It means the NBA has lost about 70% of its viewership. And that loss has accelerated to a massive degree since they went super woke. LeBron, Popovich, Kerr, the NBA put BLM on the court. They put political slogans on the back of jerseys. Their audience has collapsed since. Here is my olive branch to the NBA. And by the way, NCAA Men's Championship tournament records, first and second round all time. Women's college basketball record highs all time. The WNBA, The freaking WNBA is hitting all-time highs. Super Bowl had its most watched Super Bowl ever. So everybody out there who's saying, well, it's just television, nobody watches television, you're wrong. You are completely and utterly wrong. This is the NBA destroying its brand. So my olive branch to Adam Silver, who has presided over the collapse of the NBA brand, is Oklahoma City should go visit President Trump in the White House. Adam researched this. I think I'm correct. No NBA team has ever visited the White House since Donald Trump was elected president. I think this is the case. You can trace essentially the collapse of the NBA brand to the Trump era. They just have fallen off the radar. If I were giving advice to Adam Silver in Oklahoma City, the NFL, the Major League Baseball, the NHL, every major college team, all of them have visited the White House. At this point in time, the only team that has not visited the White House that has won a championship is the NBA. And to be fair, that just happened. And so to me, it is a no-brainer for the Oklahoma City Thunder to visit the Trump White House and end once and for all this debilitating political era of the NBA, which has lit their brand on fire. Other sports ratings have not collapsed like the NBA. Basketball is still really popular. You can look at the men's and women's college basketball ratings. This is something that I've been hammering for years because no one else will touch it because I'm right and the data is clear and transparent, and a lot of people want to pretend it's not true. Republicans do buy sneakers too. Michael Jordan was right, and a lot of people have tuned out of the overall basketball in the NBA universe. Best way they could help to send a signal that they are back to wanting everybody to be fans, whether you vote Republican, Democrat, or Independent, is by visiting President Trump in the White House. It's a no-brainer. It's an easy olive branch. It should happen. Now, some people are going to say, well, the NBA, the Lakers just sold for $10 billion. Or, hey, look at the television deals. They're doing fine. Yeah, because the gamble here, and this is a bigger picture that doesn't get talked about that much, is the streaming companies are basically gambling that they're going to be able to make way more money off advertising because they can target you directly. They know, for instance, Amazon does exactly what you bought. They are able to sit down right in front, have their analysis of you. They know what your household bought. They know what shows you watch. They know if you just had a baby. They know if you just retired. They know if you like to gamble on sports. They know what state you live in to feed you the absolute appropriate ads. Let's say you live in a state where there are a variety of different fast food chains. Some of them might not be located in your place, or even hyper-local. They have the ability to target you. Again, trust me, the gamble here is not based on the NBA's audience growing. It's based on the idea that they're going to be able to target you. And it's why, ultimately, I think baseball is going to get a really good streaming deal when their deals all come up, because baseball is going to be able to deliver that same kind of audience that the NBA can. So anyway, that's a larger sports media analysis piece, sports business piece that most people don't understand, but it is a story. Again, Oklahoma City, go to the White House, give an olive branch. All right, new Pew research on voter data. A deep dive that they did shows utterly profound changes in terms of how people voted and what that looks like. And I want to pull that up and make sure that I get this data right for you. But the idea was, Trump is done for. There's no way at all that we are ever going to be able to have Hispanic voters voting for everybody out there. And this is interesting. Hispanic vote. This is from an Axios graphic citing the Pew Research. In 2016, Democrats won the Hispanic vote 66-28. In 2020, they won the Hispanic vote 61-36. So Hispanic voters 2016 plus 38 Democrat, in 2020 plus 25 Democrat. By 2024, this is crazy. Kamala only won the Hispanic vote by 3 points, 51-48. So in the space of the Trump era, 2016, 2020, 2024, Trump almost flipped Hispanics from favoring Democrats by 38 to then only favoring Democrats by 3. And he did flip the overall numbers when it comes to men. Hispanic men voted for Donald Trump, and we almost had a situation where Hispanic women did as well. Overall, Trump received 48% of the Hispanic vote to Harris's 51%. And by the way, the Hispanic vote is a very wide range, from Cubans and Venezuelans in South Florida to predominantly recent immigrants from Mexico, in California, for instance, and all points in between. The Hispanic bloc is actually very different. Cubans vote Republican. Miami-Dade is a Republican place, whereas Los Angeles Hispanic voters, I would imagine, were more likely to vote for Kamala, for instance. Men voted for Trump 50-48. So Trump did break the breakthrough with Hispanic voters. Women, Hispanic voters, broke for Harris 52-46. So it was very, very close. 23-point swing in the favor of President Trump when it came to Asian voters. They voted 70-30 for Biden. It was just 57-40 for Harris over Trump with Asian voters. And black voters flipped substantially. 8% of black voters voted for Trump in 2020. 15% of black voters voted for Trump in 2024. That is a seismic shift as well, driven in large measure by black men who are done with the Democrat Party culturally. This is becoming a big, huge rising tide. White support, by the way, for Kamala actually increased. So white people were actually more likely to vote Kamala. They were the only group that Kamala increased her voting share with in any kind of substantial way. So the media, the legacy media, tells you, oh, Trump's racist. Hispanic, black, Asian people, they actually said, actually, we like Trump way more. White people liked Kamala more. I think it's really kind of fascinating. I'm just saying we're seeing a profound realignment as the Democrat Party is done when it comes to young male voters and male voters overall, which is what I wrote my book, Balls, B-A-L-L-S, about, which is going to be out in November. Much of this deals with the young voter and also minority voter, young males, abandoning the Democrat Party. So I do think the data matters here, and I wanted to make sure that I talked about it. Again, you can go read that Pew research for yourself. It's something that I have talked about for quite a long time. Couple of other things that are out there. Harry Potter books have been banned in a San Francisco bookstore because J.K. Rowling, they say, is too much of a transphobic individual. Now, this is interesting. Because Democrats claim that they never ban books. Of course, they do. But we never really talk about this as well as we should. Republicans, by and large, aren't banning books. They're just discussing what is the age-appropriate nature for kids to be reading books, which is something that we talk about all the time with movies. It's why they have the rating system for movies in the first place. You're not banning a kid from seeing an R-rated movie if he or she is 8 years old. You're just saying, hey, I don't think it's appropriate for my 8-year-old to see this R-rated movie. I have a rule with my kids when it comes to books. If you'll read it, I buy it. So far, none of my kids have challenged me with some book that's wildly age inappropriate, so it just hasn't happened in my household. But my general rule for my kids is I think reading is super important, profoundly important. And so my rule is if we're in a bookstore and you want to read a book, as long as you read it, I'll buy it for you. And that has been my parenting rule for my kids 17, 14, and 10 since I became a dad. And so far it worked well. My oldest reads everything. My middle son, we can't get him to read anything, so I don't think it has anything to do with books being banned. But over the last week, I was up in Michigan, and I had my two youngest. My oldest is away at camp, but my two youngest were watching the Harry Potter movies, and it looks quite like the left in America has turned into, this is a Harry Potter reference for you, Dolores Umbridge, the authoritarian Ministry of Magic spy who issued all sorts of dictates Orwellian-like at Hogwarts in book 5, I believe it was, 5 and 6. And by the way, there's a book about her trial that is, the new ride at Universal Studios, Universal Epic, the Harry Potter Ministry of Magic ride. Pretty cool. The overall setup of the Ministry of Magic is really, I think, the most impressive part of it as you wait in line to go through. But I give credit. I've given credit a lot to her over the years on this program. J.K. Rowling being willing to speak out against the absurdity of telling a lie and saying that men who identify as women are actual women, which is an orthodoxy of the trans movement, and even taking a step beyond that, certainly in saying that men who identify as women should be able to compete in women's sports, which is something that I'm proud to say OutKick has been on the forefront of opposing. But I do think that that is a story worth paying attention to. San Francisco bookstore bans Harry Potter's books because by author J.K. Rowling, because they don't like that J.K. Rowling has been able and willing to speak up for truth about this. We whipped Iran. I talked a lot about this leading up to the strikes. I applaud President Trump for his decision to wipe out much of the Iranian nuclear arsenal. Props to everybody involved for keeping it a secret. Pete Hegseth, Marco Rubio, among others, J.D. Vance, President Trump, and amazing plaudits to the officers and the soldiers who made this attack possible. Pretty incredible, the B-2 bomber to take off, refuel in the air, to execute with precision all of these things, to drop the bombs on these 3 different Iranian nuclear sites. A lot of discussion about what actually occurred in terms of damage on those Iranian nuclear sites. I do think it's funny that the legacy media has gone, pay attention to how they pivot, but they have gone from, hey, Iran doesn't even have nuclear weapons, to then CNN and New York Times saying, inaccurately, I believe, as more intelligence estimates are coming out, hey, we only knocked Iran's nuclear ambitions back by a few months. So wait, do they have nuclear ambitions or not? But I think that these strikes are likely to lead to greater peace in the Middle East. Everyone who told you that World War III was going to happen, you should trust those people less. Everyone who told you that there were going to be thousands of American deaths and that oil was going to skyrocket in price, they were 100% wrong. And I think when you are wrong about your predictions, you should own it. And I'll own one of my predictions that I was wrong about here in a moment. And Trump, I think, handled this situation beautifully, smartly, profoundly, and I think is going to lead to an era of more peace in the Middle East. By the way, I'm going to be on the road tomorrow driving. I know a lot of you are as well. 4-year lows in the price of gas for the summer driving season. As those of you who pay attention to the price of gas know, the price of gas tends to rise in the summer and decline because so many more people are driving summer vacation season, and then it declines during usually the non-summer season. So we're at 4-year lows for summer gas prices, down about 50% nearly from some of the peaks that were hit during the summer of 2022 when Biden's era inflation was at its absolute apex. So that, I think, is worthy of discussion. But, again, profoundly intelligent, profoundly well executed, thanks to our military and the leadership that made this happen. The Iran strikes went phenomenally well. I said take ownership of something I got wrong. I thought Andrew Cuomo would win the New York City mayor's race. He had all the backing. I thought that he was going to use his win in the New York City mayor's race as an opportunity to propel his candidacy to run in 2028 as a Democrat to be elected president of the United States. And I thought he would be New York City's mayor. I thought he would do an okay job, even though I think he was a disaster as governor when it comes to COVID. Instead, a Democrat primary was won by Mamdani, 33-year-old far left-wing socialist. He believes that you should have no rent price increase. He thinks that that capitalism is a bad word and that capitalism itself is theft. He believes that the police should be replaced by social workers. He thinks that if he had the ability to do it, he would arrest Benjamin Netanyahu if he came into New York City. 13% of New York City voters are Jewish. I think Mamdani is a disaster for New York City, but I think he actually represents where the Democrat Party is headed, which is in a direction that rejects capitalism and almost completely embraces socialism. And look, rent's expensive. I get it. I have had high rents that I've had to deal with before, living all over the place, Washington, D.C., the Caribbean. Here's what doesn't actually help rent. Rent controls, price controls. What should happen is there should be more housing created. And there are so many zoning issues in so many of these blue cities that a lot of the time, whether it's San Francisco or New York City, rents get so exorbitant because there isn't enough supply to fit the demand for housing. And so natural economic law is that prices are going to go up. I was actually reading this morning, Austin, Texas is a good example of a blue city, by and large, in a red state where they helped to create more housing. And when they created more housing, guess what happened? Prices came down, more opportunities for places to rent. The issue in New York City is there are too many people who want to live in an area that does not have enough housing. And when that occurs, prices go up. And this is not complicated, but the way to decrease the amount of rent that everybody has to pay is actually to increase the amount of housing. And that requires winning some battles with zoning authorities. But I was 100% wrong. I thought that Andrew Cuomo would win. He did not. And I think New York City is in a tough place. What needs to happen now is there needs to be a coalition that focuses 100% on one opposition candidate to Mamdani. I think that's unlikely to happen. I think instead you're going to see the anti-Mamdani vote spread across multiple constituencies. Andrew Cuomo may be working for Mamdani now, I don't know, against Eric Adams, who is running as an independent, the current mayor of New York City. I think it's going to be hard to beat Mamdani, who just got 43% of the Democrat vote, if you have a Republican in Curtis Sliwa, if you have an independent in Eric Adams, and if you have an independent in Andrew Cuomo. I don't think there's any way to beat Mamdani with three opposition candidates running against Mamdani. A couple of more things I want to hit, and then I got to dive out because I've got live Clay and Buck, obviously, and then also I've got Fox Business and Fox News making time for both of those. Cooper Flagg, first American-born white player to be drafted number 1 overall since 1977. We've had foreigners, Andrew Bogut among them, go number 1 overall. But Cooper Flagg gets the number 1 overall pick. Big year for Coopers. Cooper DeJean also had a pick 6 in the Super Bowl. And overall, athletic year for the Whites. Just going to point out, The Whites, number 1 overall NBA draft pick 6 return, that would have paid out at $1 billion to 1 if you had taken the parlay. And by the way, I'm making fun of the identity politics era that ESPN has tried to usher in. I guess we could have a tweet calling this hashtag white excellence, that Cooper Flagg would go number 1 overall. Look, I ridiculed this when Jalen Hurts winning the Super Bowl was described by ESPN as black excellence. And I'm making fun of the fact that the Whites have had a good run of late. Yay, Whites. By ridiculing identity politics in general, and identity politics being brought to sports. No one should aspire to excellence based on a racial categorization. I don't want to be white excellent on my shows. I don't want my 3 boys to be excellent for white kids at anything they do. I want them to be excellent. America's about the pursuit of excellence, whether you're white, black, Asian, or Hispanic. Trying to identity politics it and say, oh, this is white excellence, black excellence, Hispanic excellence, Asian excellence. I don't believe in those things. I just believe in excellence. Either you're fabulous at something or you're not. And I want my kids to be fabulous. Not because they're white kids, but because I want them to aspire to be great at something. Maybe not achieve it, but certainly aspire to try to reach it. And so congrats to Cooper Flagg, number 1 overall. Good luck to him, and yay Whites. Cooper DeJean, Cooper Flagg. It was a great year for Coopers, for sure, in the world of sports. Finally, I just got back yesterday evening from northern Michigan. We were all over the place, Traverse City, Harbor Springs, so many different awesome northern Michigan communities. And I got to tell you, it is the most underrated place in America, Michigan, northern Michigan, in the summer. I would have never been there. I would have never probably ever gone to northern Michigan if I hadn't married my wife, who is from Michigan. We got engaged up at Mackinac, on Mackinac Island at the Grand Hotel there. That was 23 years ago now. That was the very first time I went to northern Michigan. Weather is amazing. The lake water there is Bahamas, Caribbean level, beautiful blue. It is spectacular. I can't endorse it enough. It is really a great place, and I would encourage you to put it on your list, particularly if you are tired of baking hot weather, and you want to get away and have low humidity, 75 sunny degree days, 60 degrees at night. It is fabulous up there in the summer. Probably going to spend more and more of my time up there in the summer when my kids get older and we don't have the obligations of summer that are associated with them. You guys know I love the Florida Gulf Coast. My favorite place to be, other than the hottest part of the summer, because it is super hot. I'm never going to leave Nashville as my primary home. I don't believe ever. But northern Michigan in the summer, the most underrated place in America. It is absolutely fabulous. It is a secret. When I tweeted about this, all the people from northern Michigan were telling me, shh, don't say anything more. And so I can't keep my mouth shut, as is often the case. But if you've ever been there, you know what I'm talking about. But it is absolutely phenomenal. And we had an incredible time up there over the last week or so. We'll be down in Florida for the 4th of July. About to do Clay and Buck here on afternoon. Then I'll be on Fox Business. Then I'll be on Fox News. I'll do Clay and Buck Monday, Tuesday. Then we are out for the 4th of July holiday. Love all of you. DBAP unless you need to SBAP. My name is Clay Travis, and this has been OutKick the show. Appreciate all of you supporting OutKick and making June such a record-breaking month for all of us. I will be back with you after the 4th. God bless America, and I hope you all have a fabulous 4th of July with you and your family.